All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the post-COVID world, sort of. We keep inching past it. So I'm on the faculty at Cal State Monterey Bay, and this week is the first week we have not had a mask mandate at the university, which the only problem with it is now I have to relearn all my students because they look completely different without a mask. So this is a combined event between Startup Monterey Bay Connect. We run these meetups monthly in various locations, and DART, who we have run combined events with DART before. So Josh Metz is going to be co-host along with myself. I'm Brad Barbeau. For those of you who don't know me, I'm director of the CSUMB Institute for Innovation and Economic Development.
That's Dr. Brad Barbeau. Yes.
No, just Brad Barbeau. We'll leave the doctor behind. Anyhow, so we've got a great program tonight about the DART space, looking at urban air mobility, and some other really interesting companies. So I think you'll really enjoy what we have for you lined up tonight. I want to thank our sponsors, the Economic Development Administration is a major funder of programs for the Institute for Innovation and Economic Development, the James Irvine Foundation, who is a major funder for DART, the organization, Blue Tech Valley Accelerator. If you've got a startup in the clean tech or ag space, you should reach out to us and we will connect you with the Blue Tech Valley Accelerator. And the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. And I saw Tara, oh, there you are back in the back. Tara, you want to stand up and tell them a little bit about the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership?
We are company co-located here along with Dorn, and
He's over here.
so we can today, there are some that's what I can see. We heard the president has been Simon Cruz from Monterey and San Diego on economic development, workforce development, housing on level, employer specific housing, and policy advocacy, and policy intersection issues around transportation and water and housing. So happy to be here and thanks for this help.
Thank you very much. The Monterey Bay Economic Partnership is a very important partner for both the Institute and for DART. So thank you very much, Tara, and for all the work that all of you do. So our speakers for tonight, we have Chad Caldwell from eCube doing some really interesting innovation in the truck transportation space. If any of you have followed supply chains, you know that they're a mess. He's got at least a major part of the solution to that. Josh Metz, Monterey Bay DART, is going to talk about DART, some major changes and development in that organization. Cody Cleverly with Joby Aviation has got some really cool stuff to show us. Nathan Dorn. Nathan, where are you hiding? Are you? He's here. He's just out doing something. He's going to tell us about Farm NG, a startup in the farm robotics space. Chris Bley, a brief introduction to Chris, runs Airspace integration. He's also on the board with DART. And Becca Fenwick with CITRIS up at UCSC. Becca, oh, there you are, Becca. So this is a great lineup we have tonight. But as always, we have to start with the monthly news quiz. So let me bring up Mary Jo Zank to do the monthly news quiz. I hope you all are reading. Yes.
Okay.
There's the steering wheel.
All right, I'll try to talk loud. Welcome. So every month I try to find like 3 interesting things that have happened in the news, some things that we share on our newsletter, some things from like Santa Cruz Works or local newspapers related to entrepreneurship and innovation in this region. So let's see how much you're following our news. All right. So what is the name of a 2022 Startup Challenge winner who's located in Monterey County that now has several products, natural bar soaps and creams that are available at Amazon.com. So this is a brand new startup and they're already selling several products on Amazon.com. Any ideas? The lavender one. You're right, Tom. Why isn't this going? Yes, Lavender Creek Company. Very great, some really cool products, and I encourage you to check them out. They are going to be opening up their farm for tours and stuff, so that will be really nice. They're in Carmel Valley, closer to Greenfield, I believe, right? All right. Here's another company that was in 2021 was the Startup Challenge Venture Division winner, and that company is using drones and algorithms to help specialty row crop growers reduce their crop losses. And we just shared an interesting updated story with them about them. Any ideas? Did I see a hand down there? You can just shout it out. Shout it out. Yes. Yes. So, and really good news, Exactly was just accepted into the Blue Tech Valley Venture program. So because they're doing some really cool stuff in ag, we connected them with the Blue Tech Valley group. And so they'll get a lot more support with their company. Okay. So this company was featured a couple of months ago in MC Weekly as a pretty cool foodie company. But they were also this year's Startup Challenge Main Street Division winner. So any ideas? Anybody remember who was the Main Street Division winner for Startup Challenge this year? You guys are not reading our newsletter. We even wrote an article. We wrote this really good article. We interviewed her. We have every month we are interviewing these startup companies and writing stories about them. So these are local companies doing really good stuff. So anyway, last call, anybody? Miss Flippy's dumpling party. And her dumplings are really good. So it's a really cool idea. And she actually sells some of them at a couple of the farmers markets in the area, but she will come to a group and do a party for a group of people, and everybody makes dumplings. She sold her dumplings at one of our other Connect meetings. So yeah, dumplings would have been great. Okay, so that's it. And we encourage you to, read our newsletter, go to startupmontereybay.com, check out some of these really cool companies. And we've got interviews both on video and written up.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Couple things coming up. Of course, next month we'll have another Startup Monterey Bay Connect meeting. That'll be on October 11th. The theme for that is going to be clean energy, Tuesday, October 11th. And that's going to be on campus at the Business Information and Technology Building. So join us for that. And make sure you put on your calendars the DART Symposium coming up right at the end of November, November 30th, December 1st. And you want to give them a quick pitch for it?
Well, I'm gonna talk more about it, but you'll hear all about what we're doing, not only from our local stories, but also some state and national players, and kind of build more momentum around potential of these technologies and advance their mobility for the Central Coast future and for the future of our country. How about that?
Cool. All about the future, we are. All right, so at this point, that's enough of the preliminaries. It's time to get to the program, and I'm going to turn over the magic wand to Josh. Lead us through our presenters.
And how does this just go here? Okay.
Where I don't know if it works, but
And that's working there. Okay. Great. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Brad. And thanks everyone for coming out, making time for this event. It's our first, as Brad mentioned, are kind of coming out of the COVID fog, which, man, that happened, I guess, huh? So, but we are an organization that formed about 5 years ago now. At the time, I was the economic development manager for the Fort Ord Reuse Authority. And so this effort really builds on the 25-year economic recovery program that was established to rebuild after Fort Ord closed here in Monterey County. That was a big economic hit to the region. And everything you see around us, including this building, but all those homes over there in the Dunes and Sea Haven, on the CSU Monterey Bay campus, this beautiful new road here, Imgen Parkway, and all the other stuff has happened during that time. And as part of that reuse planning activity, this particular area and this building were envisioned to be the centerpiece of a sort of a job center. About 4,000 jobs were planned to be in this area around the Marina Airport. All this property to the east of us and across Blanco Road, it's owned by UC Santa Cruz, was to become a research and development light industrial job center to balance the housing and the jobs and provide that easy access to places to live and good paying jobs. So as we were looking at winding down the reuse authority, we were looking around for great opportunities to realize some of those job dreams. And I just happened to be out front of my house in Santa Cruz one day and started talking with my neighbor Chris Bley over here. And he was a guy who had this cool looking Sprinter van and with this big rack on the top, and he was always coming and going at weird hours. And so we start talking, and it turns out that he's into drones, and he's got a company that inspects wind power towers with drones and maps them out and then sends a message back to the power company that they need to repair a crack somewhere. And we got to talking, and then he starts telling me about this program that the Federal Aviation Administration was looking for applications from around the country for drone innovation sites. And what he really was looking for was a community with an airport that might be willing to be a partner on this application. And so being here, working at Fort Ord, having the Marina Airport right here, it got us engaged right away. And so we went about a pretty active program in the fall of 2017 into 2018, putting this package together, and brought together a coalition of interest that was a lot of private sector companies, multiple universities, UC Santa Cruz. In fact, we got the president of the UC system to sign a letter on our behalf. The CSUMB, Joby Aviation was still in its infancy up in Santa Cruz at that time. And so that led to this whole idea that there could be a future with these different technologies being the centerpiece. And so that has now led to a multi-year effort, which I'm going to tell you some more about and tell you about our partnerships and where we're headed today. So really what we're talking about is a regional economic development initiative focused on these future leaning technologies for economic vitality. And we have some shining examples of what this looks like in our region. So this is a real life company. This is a real life platform. It's Parallel Flight Technologies has been developing this heavy lift vertical takeoff 4-propeller drone at a facility at La Selva Beach that Chris manages. It's a incubator site. So they envision using this thing for supporting wildfire response, which is a big issue, as we all know, living here. Here's the wind power example that I talk about with Chris, and just a tremendous potential of application for these across the infrastructure space, whether it's wind power, offshore energy, certainly PG&E and all that. And then we also recognize that drones are but one example of a robot, a flying robot. And so really we start talking about robots more broadly, and including our major economic category of agriculture here. This is like the bread and butter of our area. And so this is a really cool example of robotic weeding machine that has continued to be a huge value to the row crop and lettuce growers here in Salinas, as well as in Yuma, Arizona, and other places. And this company was initially founded in San Francisco, but has a major operations center down here in Salinas. So it started to again reflect what is the potential for these technologies to really be centered here, and the companies to be centered here, and people from around here to be able to participate either as employees or vendors or investors, or all the different range of economic activities. This is another one. This comes out of MBARI, the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute. This is a autonomous solar-powered platform that is useful for dropping sensors down into the ocean and transmitting those sensors above the surface of the ocean to a satellite. So it's really hard to transmit from below the surface to aerial vehicles. So this is a platform that is continued to be refined. You might have read about things like Sail Drone. That's a company based up in the Bay Area, but similar concept that are now like making waves throughout the world, including in the Red Sea area recently. And then, of course, I mean, I love this picture because it really talks about, you know, the innovation that Joby represents, and it really puts it in the place of the Monterey Bay. So this is kind of going to become our #1 marketing picture if we can do it. So Joby's here. You know, they were founded in Santa Cruz, and lo and behold, the Marina Airport again becomes this really valuable asset that has now become the center of their manufacturing kind of prototyping. And if we do everything right, we'll see a massive scaling up of this capacity here. And so it has a significant potential to affect this region, as they're already doing. So you'll hear more about that from folks tonight. And then, you know, I wanted to mention CSUMB. We have a great asset there in Dr. Corey Garza, who leads the Marine Landscape Ecology Lab. And these are some of his students. He's basically developed, you know, the cutting edge innovative methods for mapping nearshore areas, kelp forests, and all the dynamics that are happening there. So it really touches on this huge part of our area, of course, which is marine conservation. And really, that's where we start talking about the focus of our interest is really about the workforce, the current and future workforce, and how we can get people engaged and into the pipeline to participate in making these kind of dreams reality. And that's where it gets really exciting. So here's another person on the Joby assembly line, and you'll hear more about our partnership with Joby that's been funded by the Irvine Foundation. So both the people who like to tinker on the machines, but also the people who like to go out and map burnt areas to characterize landscape change. So you'll hear from Becca tonight. And then really it's just a huge field of opportunity. And that's really what we're doing, is cheerleading for that field. So we've got a history, some of it I've mentioned here, you know, from our beginnings in 2017, various activities related to continual efforts to make big things happen around here. And we have more of that happening with MBEP and our partnership with across the 6-county region. That's very exciting news. So you'll be hearing more about that. And most recently, this big grant we got from Irvine Foundation to really focus on creating a pilot apprenticeship program. How do we get people who may not have thought about careers in aerospace into a manufacturing this really just incredible clean tech futuristic operation that's really cool. We were just over there on a tour again this afternoon. So this is our board, and there's some board members here, so maybe we could raise our hands. Brad is the president of the board. Chris is the co-founder. Here's Cody from Joby. And is Andrea and Amy are not here, nor is Michael, but Brooks was here too. So this is our board, and we're looking to expand our board. So, you know, if you had some interest in that, don't hesitate to talk to us. But really, this is a public-private partnership. It represents businesses, education facilities, and government. And really, Chris and I put together this dartboard vision some years ago, and it's really, we have a dartboard, and I think if we, now with some of this money, we might get a couple of these things made, because it's like kind of fun to throw darts at. But it really is, these are the different verticals that the potential of these technologies can be applied within, and through training, education, and workforce development, and some seed funding and investment, that's how this kind of ecosystem will thrive. And so there's roles for all different parties, and that's kind of what we are as a convener and a connector to make all that come together and happen. We've got a bunch of things that we do along those lines: connecting, funding, educating, and advocating. So this is the example of the connecting part, which we have done now for a number of years with Brad, and we'd like to do more of that. We put on a big symposium. This is from last year. We had the president of NPS and the head of our transportation agency, California, great tours, and all that's going to come back again in November. And other examples of the partnerships we've done over the years is organizing with UC Ag and Natural Resource Division a drone camp, and Becca is a big leader of that these days. Becca Fenwick and her colleagues over there at UC Santa Cruz. We've participated in the annual cycle of innovation, which is the Institute for Innovation and Economic Development. This is the facility that Chris operates in La Selva Beach. We have a partnership with the Naval Research Lab ongoing there, which is some really sophisticated weather stations that monitor all kinds of stuff for naval research, but also have potential use for a broad set of applications, including agricultural. So if you want to learn more about that and get a tour, talk to Chris. We also talk about the programs that the NPS runs that are accessible to private industry: the Cruiser Consortium for Robotics and Unmanned System Education and Research, the Joint Interagency Field Experiments, which are down in Camp Roberts, and I know Daniel's been down there, and some other folks. Pretty cool opportunity to demonstrate your technology in front of a whole host of potential government clients. And then this thing that's being developed down on the shore just across from the NPS school called Slammer. It's a testing facility for aerial, aquatic, and underground autonomous vehicles. So if you want to learn more about that, let us know. Other things we've done is work career pathways related to the application of these technologies in forestry and forest recovery. So there's a bunch of resources there. This is a partnership that we were part of. We worked on a Build Back Better challenge grant with the EDA had out last year. You might have read the news recently that our friends in Fresno got a $65 million federal investment in a concept that they put forward. Ours was not funded, but now has come back into focus to be part of a NSF proposal that Tara and our colleagues listed here, REACH and the Economic Development Collaborative, are leaning. So we're really continuing to push this idea that these technologies and these economies have real significance to our current and future economy here on the Central Coast. One other program that I'll put on the radar is something that's just getting off the ground. We call the Central Coast FIX, Central Coast Flight Information Exchange. And this we're doing in collaboration with a number of partners, including UC Santa Cruz. But basically, it's a aerospace management system that will improve the safety of operation of drones in the airspace, kind of at medium elevations, above 400 feet and up to, I don't know, 5,000 feet, something like that. But it's a new program. You'll be hearing more about it. And if you're interested in that, look for that and you can ask us questions. We have been a big advocate for Joby's presence here at Marina for many years. And so this little thing right here is the tent that you see out across the path on the tarmac over there. It's a 50,000 square foot prototyping tent. This thing right here is a 600,000 square foot manufacturing facility that has been approved to be built there. Now we have to work hard to make the case to Joby that this is the place that they can thrive with the workforce and all the other issues that need to be addressed before that really gets built out. But that's the big vision for here. And so that's why we're working so hard to, you know, highlight Joby. We love Joby. We want them to be sort of our anchor tenant, and then around that, an ecosystem can really begin to thrive. So that's why we got this funding from the Irvine Foundation. Just in July, it was announced we had a $1.5 million grant to do these three things: develop our organizational capacity, and that's reflected in some of the people that you have met here, including Shari Tavoff over here, who's our new project manager, and she's really come down from Berkeley to help us out in a real timely way. Do this workforce training apprenticeship program with Joby that really is focused on providing pathway entry-level jobs for people into advanced manufacturing in support of their growth, and then a workforce training feasibility study. And so that's going to be the third part of our body of work, and that'll be ongoing here in the months ahead. So just to finish, I know it's longer than 5 minutes, but I figure I was just going to go for it. Our symposium, you'll be hearing a lot more about that, and we hope you can make it and share the information with all your networks, but that's coming in November and December. So that's my deal. And I think with that, I'll hand it over to Chris, who only has 4 slides. I've told a lot about the context. Now he can focus in on his things. So thank you very much.
We'll average out.
Sorry.
Your topic, Jim.
No. All right, you just got it.
Okay, hello everybody, Chris Bley. I've been in the Monterey Bay region since the early 80s. I arrived here to come to UC Santa Cruz, studied biology, got involved with entrepreneurial businesses, and then started doing my own. And so I have exited from 2 of those, and now I'm involved with 3, Airspace Integration, Inside Up Solutions, and Monterey Bay DART, which is the nonprofit Josh and I have been working on for 5+ years now. So yeah, it's been a great ride, and really getting the feeling that things are really moving forward now. There was a global pandemic, which kind of slowed us down, but we're all coming out of that. So Airspace Integration, I'm work out of the office in La Selva Beach, California, and included in that, you saw Grass Airfield. It's a 2,200 foot airfield known as CA66. That's the call letters there. And so we have a incubator there, and Parallel Flight that Josh also mentioned is located there. But we work together with the Naval Postgraduate School, so they do testing and things off of our location because we have direct access to the Monterey Bay. And then the Naval Research Lab is also located there, and with a coastal weather station. And actually, we met the meteorologist from that at one of these events, just like this. He started talking to us, and they needed a place to locate this weather instrumentation equipment. And I said, you know, come out to our location, check it out. So we made it happen. So that's kind of how things can happen with these type of meetings. So I'm mainly here to talk about 2 things. Josh already mentioned the Central Coast FIX, and so that stands for Flight Information Exchange, and you need to correct your slide to get an I in there too. And then COSTA, which is Cross-Cutting Operation Strategy and Technical Assessment. And so So I just those are the two things, and I kind of thought the best way to illustrate that just this morning I went on and I have an application on my phone that called anybody can download this app. It's ADSB, and so you can track planes in the national airspace that are transmitting ADSB. So oftentimes I'm always curious, it's like, where is that plane going? I can go to this app and look it up and see exactly where that plane is going, whether it's an approach into San Francisco. So typically planes coming in this direction are approaching into San Francisco, and then planes going into San Jose go down this corridor. But it's just kind of interesting to kind of explore a little bit what's going on in the airspace. That I manage this small grass airfield here sometimes. It's kind of interesting to me. It's like who's landing there and who is there. But then I also have a radio where I can monitor the verbal commands of people saying, hey, I'm landing at our airstrip, or I'm landing in Watsonville or any place else. So then I wanted to zoom back out a little further to kind of give you guys kind of the feeling that, you know, there's a lot of planes. So this is Los Angeles down here. This is San Francisco up here. And the density of amount of air traffic that is going around in our airspace is quite overwhelming. It's like, wow, you know, there's a lot of planes there. Obviously, this is like, you know, 10 states or whatever, but there's a density. And so somebody has to manage this. And currently, this is managed by planes that are going up to 30, 40,000 feet and pretty much following each other to the destination. And that's the way they can track all that. And the kind of rub point is where they're all coming together. And so this has to be very well orchestrated. And so this is what we're currently looking at. But I'm also envisioning that we have to get this many planes with smaller planes like Joby Aviation and others operating in a given area. And this could be the Monterey Bay region. Potentially in the future, maybe not this many planes, but everybody it's got to be orchestrated. And so this just doesn't happen randomly, and you're hoping that everything will work out. So, so this is the Costa project that we're working on with the FAA, and NASA has a research division called NARI. And so having these things work together in different types of classes of airspace is really important. Like unregulated airspace is class G airspace. So that's where our airstrip is located. And then where it gets more complicated is in areas where, like San Francisco Airport or San Jose Airport, is class C. And then a TFR, that stands for temporary flight restriction. So if there's a big fire going on, the FAA will throw up a TFR and say, nobody can come in here. But there are reasons to go in there, because CAL FIRE and things want to bring in like dropping fire retardants and things like that. But also it could be very valuable for flying drones in a TFR. So the FAA is really interested in testing out through this program how we can bring unmanned aircraft into a TFR and do what they need to do and then exit out of that. So that's what a lot of this project is doing. And they've designated our airstrip to do this on the Monterey Bay coast, because we can fly straight out over the Monterey Bay without having to fly over any houses or people to test this out. So that's what this Costa project is. And we're mainly just discussing how it's all going to be done right now, just the test. And then we're going to have live flights in early next year. And then kind of the central part of this is the Central Coast Fix. So communicating between the different operators who are going to be operating. So this side of it is mainly reporting into the system, and the data is going to be managed at UC Santa Cruz. And then that information is going to be fed out to other aircraft operators. So what goes in on this end is, if I'm going to do a drone flight in a neighboring field, I would report that and say, in this given area during these certain times, I'm going to be operating at this elevation. And then that's fed into the system and then notified to other pilots that are flying in the area, so they're aware of what's going on. So this group is part of this this Central Coast Fix program. So we're really excited about putting all that together and demonstrating how we can successfully fly in lower elevations with more aircraft. So do we have time for questions or not?
We're going to do questions after Becca.
Okay. So there's a quick look at my details. So if anybody wants to contact me, you can reach out or talk to me after the talks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Becca Fenwick, and I'm the director of the CITRIS Initiative for Drone Education and Research at Santa Cruz. Super helpful. So basically, sort of backing up a step to explain what CITRIS is. So CITRIS, Center for Information Technology, Research and the Interests for Society, which I can never remember. It's basically tech for social good. And it's across 4 different campuses: Berkeley, Davis, Merced, and Santa Cruz. And the funding for it comes directly from the state. It's been around for 20 years, and it has a bunch of different focuses from health to climate change to aviation and sort of policy and integration. Bunch of money runs through there, and we support a bunch of students and different research projects as well. So they launched the Aviation Initiative officially last year, I think. We have our first faculty director was just appointed. And at UC Santa Cruz, there's no aviation program as yet. We're working on that. So our contribution to the Aviation Initiative is the drone program. And, you know, we've talked a lot about coming out of the pandemic. Well, the drone program is my pandemic project. So prior to this, I've been working for the UC Natural Reserve System, doing conservation work using drones and surveying, and have a background in marine geology and geophysics before that. So lots of different things have come in about geospatial data and technology to get pictures and understand the processes in the environment. And in the process of doing this, talking to lots of people on campus, before the pandemic and just at the beginning, realized that there was a need for education and training and support around drones used at UC Santa Cruz and helping create the workforce that we are all hugely in support of here. So along with Justin Cummings, who's my associate director, and Michael Matkin, who's the executive director of CITRIS at Santa Cruz, we designed this program and launched it officially almost a year ago now, which is great. So our mission is to bring together diverse students, researchers, and industry partners from all sorts of different sectors to fuel research and innovation. And diversity is a really central tenet to what we do, because we all acknowledge that the tech industry is mainly white and mainly male. And so the drone industry being new, let's change that at the very beginning. Let's make sure that the workforce that's going into the drone industry really reflects the communities that it comes from. And so we're very much focused on training diverse students on campus and supporting the workforce development in that same way outside of the university environment. We're the first ever UC drone program for undergraduate training. There are other drone programs on campuses, but they're specific research projects, or they're focused on high school education and outreach. So yay for us, Santa Cruz gets to lead the way. So the 5 pillars of our program are support for underrepresented students, educational and experiential learning for students. This is a really big focus of what Santa Cruz does. We actually take commercial contracts, both internal to the UC and external as well. We provide research support to faculty and student researchers, and we have industry outreach. So how do we do this? Our first year objectives were to work with Drone Camp, which we continue to do, which is fabulous. Develop ways to get commercial contracts, because it's the UC, so there's always a bunch of hoops you got to jump through first. Develop curriculums both for undergraduate education and also high schools. So how do we get the information out there to teachers? Mentor underrepresented students, create experiential learning opportunities, and fundraising, because this is always a thing. The UC supports us, but doesn't actually fund us. So all of our funding comes from either philanthropic donations or from foundations and grant support at the moment. Long-term objectives, we would love to have a drone minor at UCSC. We're going to work on figuring out how to make that happen and have that articulate across all majors, because drones are a tool. You can use them for anything. Support large multi-scale camp research across the UC programs, and basically take this model and ship it out to other UC campuses. If we can get this to work here, we can help other campuses get it set up and running, which would be great. And a bunch of other things that we're working on. So how do we train the students? How do we get them involved? So we have a pilot training program. We had 1 cohort run last year, and we're about to launch the applications for this new cohort. And basically, the students loved it. We did it in 1 quarter this year. It will be spread over 2 quarters next year. We teach the students, give them prep for taking their FAA license. I should also say, this is extracurricular. It's not for academic credit. And so we pay them for their time. So they get a stipend for taking part in this program. We also cover the costs of them taking their FAA license exam. So they don't have to worry about that expense. We had 20 students initially sign up, 18 completed the program. 15 of those actually took the FAA exam and 13 of them have passed. Of that, 7 students have been hired to work for CITRIS. So when we say we have these commercial contracts where we're working for campus or external companies, we're employing the students that we've trained. And so once they're done with the pilot training program, we can then provide them with jobs and they can then get work experience before they've even graduated, which is really, really great. In terms of training opportunities that the students have got, this summer we had 2 of our students have paid internships in agriculture and wildfire with some of our industry partners. 2 students were hired full-time by Skydio, based out of Redwood City. 22-year-olds straight out of the engineering department, both first gen, and their starting salaries were $95,000 a year. I'm doing the wrong thing and I'm super happy for them. Yeah,
I had the same thought about me. Wait a minute.
yeah, right. We've had students get hired by different research labs on campus, specifically because of their drone pilot skills and their experience. And then, yeah, they've been funded by different research and grad student programs, which is great. So far, we've done building inspections on campus because I don't know how many of you have been to the UC Santa Cruz campus. Beautiful buildings, very impractical to actually survey the roofs. There's a bunch of them you can't even go on, like there's nowhere to hook off, you can't climb onto them. And so up until now, they've had people come in with those scissor lifts to actually get up so where they can see in. And some of them, they can't even do that. So then they called us and we're like, oh yeah, we got this, we've got drones, no problem. And then you're like, oh wait, the redwood tree actually overlaps the building right where, yeah, so it's been fun. We filmed commencement this year. So we actually got to take the drones up and fly around and get footage of people graduating, which was amazing. We've got research flights for faculty, a couple different external companies that we're working with doing environmental surveys for them. We've got a $500,000 contract with state parks to do LiDAR surveys of, I think at the moment, we've got 60,000 acres of state parks they want us to look at. And that's looking for illegal cannabis grows. But that LiDAR data will be available and useful for all sorts of different research topics, which will be fantastic. And it goes on. This is just a snapshot of some of our industry partners who we've been working with over the last year. And we continue to develop this list and work closely with people and get research questions and do fun things. So with the industry partners, we're basically looking for people who want to work with us, engaging either on research topics. So if you have questions that you need answering or that you're having trouble with or you don't have the capacity for, maybe we can pair you up with some grad students or some faculty, see if we can come up with some answers that you need. Or if you're looking for students or potential employees, what skills do you need? Like, let's make sure that the students have those skills when they graduate so they are great employees for you. And then other innovative ways of helping each other out and providing funding and sort of looking at what can be done, which is great. So been mentioned a lot, but we are also partially funded by the James Irvine Foundation, and we got $1 million 15-month planning grant from them last fall, looking at how do we create these pipelines of training for creating these new workforce positions and making sure that people have the skill sets that they're looking for. So they're in the planning grant, we're developing both the education pipeline and the existing workforce training pipeline. The foundation has indicated to us that they're very interested in funding the existing workforce portion of it, and they will help us find funding for the education pipeline. Our partners in this are Hartnell and Digital Nest. So we're working with them really closely, along with partners at UC Santa Cruz in terms of liaising with the community and really coming in not as here's a program that you guys need, but asking the question, what is it that you need? How would these skills help you? And how do we develop a program that is of benefit to you and the community as a whole? And seeing if we can put that together and fund it and work with our industry partners to make sure that we all get good jobs. So Yeah, okay, so I will skip over that entirely and that one too. This is just a list of who our grant partners are, and we're done.
Cool. There we go. Thank you. So we're coming up with Q&A. Anybody have questions for any of the three presenters on DART, innovation on the systems program at UCSC?
The technical fix program, is that, like an FAA, sort of demonstration for kind of, you know, the whole country, kind of, like, you feel it out here?
Yeah, well, the company that's our partner on that is a company called ATA. And so they did Virginia Fix. They say VA Fix. So the state of Virginia wanted to have more insight into what was flying in their state. So they built that out, but now they're trying to do that in other places. And there is some competition in that area because some people want to turn it into a private business. And so, but their feeling is this should be public information. So ultimately, we're going to start here on the Central Coast of California, work out a lot of the kinks, you know, get stakeholders involved, and then go from there. So this is kind of a demonstration project, but it fits in really well with the work that we're doing with the FAA. So yeah, we're happy that if somebody's interested in being a stakeholder in this process, we'd be happy to include you too.
You said earlier that this Central Coast fix is the first fix on the West Coast, right?
That's correct.
I know in the West Coast. Really? Yeah. All right, let's move to our next group of presenters. Let's do a round of applause. Okay, it is. Joby Aviation.
Thank you, Brad.
You're welcome.
Great to be here. This is a pretty short presentation, but I oversee workforce development at Joby Aviation. That includes apprenticeships and from the beginning pilot training and training for aircraft mechanics, manufacturing technicians, anything where we take someone with zero industry experience and give them the training that they need to be qualified for a job at Joby. So many of you have heard a lot about Joby Aviation. Most of you probably already know that we're developing an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft to serve as air taxis across the world. Of course, we're headquartered in Santa Cruz, and our manufacturing facility is right here at the Marina Airport, and we're growing in the Central Coast region every single day. But what I'm here to talk about today is specifically the workforce development stuff as it relates to partnerships with many of you here, specifically around this awesome partnership we have with DART and the James Irvine Foundation. So we've created an apprenticeship. We're having a hard time, as you might expect, hiring experienced manufacturing technicians in the Central Coast region. Shocker, there's not manufacturing here. And so we can't exactly go and pull from a qualified talent pool locally. And so quite frankly, what's been happening at Joby is you post a job and a bunch of locals apply and they have no experience, and a few people who aren't locals apply and they do have experience, and people relocate for jobs. And that's not what we want to see happening. We want to invest in the local community and create opportunities for jobs for locals, and to create a vibrant workforce here locally that's self-sustaining and that doesn't require us to bring in talent from elsewhere and continue to drive up housing prices for people who already live here, right? So we're trying to avoid that. And so one of the things that we're heavily focused on right now is manufacturing technicians. And what we're learning is that if we hire people with the right skill sets that may not be manufacturing specific, or in the right aptitude, that we can train them to do the job. So the grant that Josh mentioned that DART received from the James Irvine Foundation, we're using some of that money, and we've created an advanced manufacturing apprenticeship so that we can take people who have no experience and put them in through a bit more of a rigorous training program that includes industry certification along with the on-the-job Joby training.
so that we can take locals from all walks of life, whether they're working the ag fields or they're flipping burgers at McDonald's. We can bring them into a manufacturing job at Joby. The beautiful thing about manufacturing is you can start at the ground floor and you can work your way through gaining different skills. So a lot of these pictures on this previous slide here. So these are folks doing hand layup for our composite airframe. So you're literally using your hands to lay pre-impregnated carbon fiber to make an entire aircraft component like a wing or a fuselage. That's where a lot of people start. And then you can get some technical training. And the next thing you know, you're operating a robot that's doing the laying, and then there's another person who maintains this robot, which requires some mechanic capability and training, and others that actually program the software to figure out how to lay carbon fiber more efficiently or to lay different pieces or different curvatures. And so there's just this broad swath of different career opportunities where if we can just get people started, then we can create opportunities for locals. So anyway, that's what we're doing at Joby in partnership with DART, and thanks to the James Irvine Foundation for that grant to kind of help us build this proof of concept. And our hope is that we can kind of prove that others can do something similar and we can bring more of this industry to the Central Coast.
Next up, we have Chad Caldwell of EQ, and he'll explain what EQ means. And it's revolutionizing the trucking industry.
Well, yeah, thank you. My name is Chad Caldwell. I'm co-founder and CEO of eCubed. I definitely need to talk to you about some manufacturing stuff and carbon fiber, so note that. We're definitely in a different stage. We were just founded this year. This has been an idea that's been sort of in the background for many years, starting with a family truck stop that my family owns in Castaic. So, yeah, as we jump in here, I just want to start with a question. So when you guys all think of infrastructure, what comes to mind? I'll give you a second to think about that. Okay. And I have another question. Did anyone in here think of a pallet? Raise your hand. 0. That's right. I did not. There are over 5 billion pallets around the world, and they literally move the global supply chain. And we are disrupting how those move through the global supply chain. This is just total addressable market for the US. Your over-the-road trucking industry made up of truckload, less than truckload, cold chain, bulk carriers, over 700 billion 2020. That's going to be over $1 trillion in 2030, maybe more. So what's the problem here? The dry van, which is just a trailer, was developed in the 1920s. The pallet came around in the 1940s. In 1940, the global population was 2.3 billion people. We're creeping up on almost 8 billion people now, and we still move those pallets on and off of trucks through the same 8-foot opening that we've done forever. So what does this lead to? Our thesis basically is driver shortages are related to driver utilization rates. Truck drivers get paid by the mile. When they're waiting to get a door at a warehouse, they're not getting paid. The fleet owner has an asset that's sitting there. You know, it's just like shipping. When a ship is at port, getting loaded and unloaded, it's not making money. When it's moving containers, now it's making money. A couple other things. Rule 2305 is coming down the pike here in California. That means that any trailer refrigerated units that roll into a greater than 100,000 square foot industrial facility have to plug into shore power and are no longer allowed to run off their diesel genset. That's all those. This is the biggie. And this is really one of the main impetus for this cube idea, which you'll see in just a moment. Food loss is valued at over $1 trillion annually on a global basis. And when I say food loss, this is loss from harvest to the retail outlet. And that's from spoilage, quality issues, anything like that. So that's a massive, massive number. And when you look at it from a climate perspective, things like that, you've already used your water, you've already used your fertilizer, land use, labor, everything. And it's just wasted. So one of the things we do know with food waste and all that in agriculture is for every hour you delay getting produce to cold storage, you lose a day of shelf life. So we are basically trying to move the edge of cold storage from real estate based fixed assets to mobile modular cold storage that we can actually put out in the field and pre-cool, which is taking off the field heat after harvest, as opposed to just having a trailer refrigerated unit that is designed to maintain temperature. So this is the solution. We have a patent pending on this. This is a symmetrically designed cube. It can sit on a chassis in either orientation of 90 degrees. So you can have solar facing out on 3 sides, or you can have 2 doors facing out on 2 sides, which basically turns like a refrigerated van into almost accessing like a flatbed. As I said, pre-cooling capacity, one of the really neat things about this, when you compartmentalize 4 pallets, you can load those with produce and you can pull off all the other 5 cubes to send all their solar power to that 1 cube to bring that cube down to temp as quickly as possible. I am not an automation expert or a roboticist or anything like that. I am definitely more of the generalist, but this has really been designed for in the future when we start looking at autonomous semis and things like that. They're going to be pulling into, I don't even want to use the word truck stop because it won't be a truck stop anymore. It will be a logistics hub, and we have to figure out how to pick pallets and or cubes off of those with robots. So our progression is going to be manned forklift, autonomous forklift, and then eventually robots that will be handling these. So what you're looking at here on the top left, you have 6 cubes sitting on a chassis in transport mode. That's solar facing out 3 sides. The average size of a US solar installation on a house is 5 kW. Your average 53-foot trailer can fit 3 times that. Okay, and that is, now granted, only 2 of those faces will ever be facing the sun at once, but that's double a US average home size solar system. In the bottom left, that is basically pickup and delivery mode. Those doors can open. You can pick pallets from any position on that trailer in the first pick. And one of the main problems with refrigerated trailer units today, when you open the doors, you lose all the cold. So we've divided that in 6. And so you're only going to lose 4 pallets worth of cooling when you open the doors. Why now? Solar power is the cheapest energy on the planet. The Inflation Reduction Act is going to be throwing a boatload of money at things just like this. Resource productivity. And then on the first slide, I said moving the circular economy. As we move to a circular economy, we're actually going to move into something that's going to be what we've kind of coined the waste chain. And it's going to be just as intricate, and it's going to need just as much dexterity and flexibility as the supply chain, because everything's going to be going to very specific spots, not just a landfill that's just outside of the view of the city. Last one there, the solution has to fit the existing infrastructure. These were designed to be 8.5 feet wide for the 102-inch regulation on highways. And if we made them any bigger, we couldn't put them in both orientations. If we make them any smaller, you cannot fit 4 pallets. So that's basically it. We're creating a system to, to hope accelerate, decarbonize over the road transport and, move cold storage into the field.
Hello, I'm Nathan Dorn. Thanks for having me. Let's see if this runs the way we want it to. All right, we'll start with that. Welcome, I'm from FarmNG, Watsonville-based startup company, founded in 2000. Bad times to found a company, but we did it. I recently came on board as Director of Agricultural Relationships. I've got a long history in ag tech, as Brad knows, and other people have been around for quite a while. We build an autonomous, capable to be autonomous electric tractor. Or I'll call it a tractor today, but it's an electric platform. It's a very modular vehicle that you can pull out of a Prius and assemble in less than 15 minutes and be able to do all the work. Sorry, we're not running very well. Maybe we can help with the slide. Anyway, we're capable of assembling and putting together in a few minutes out of a car and doing work that typically would be done by hand or manually with things, with shovels and tools. So,
Where's the slide?
I don't know.
We need our Zoom master.
Maybe we gotta, here she comes. It's probably working perfectly for her. Yep. There we go. All right, so as a Watsonville-based electric startup company, we're basically an e-bike with 4 wheels, all self-powered, about a 2 horsepower tractor. Our uses are ideal for small utility equipment, doing things that are critical and time consumptive, like weeding or scouting. We have projects that do yield tree estimation, where you can count 2,000 trees in a matter of about 90 seconds, size them all, and categorize whether or not they're living or dead so the customer can pre-sell. We attach tools that are simple tools to weed with, and we're part of the CITRIS group in UC Santa Cruz. This is a Python-based open platform robotic vehicle that the agroecology group, Daryl Wong, is using in conjunction with the CS department to learn to track and follow the bedline. We also have relationships with UCANR and a number of other customers and universities that are looking to do research projects that are somewhat robotic, somewhat mobile. We offer this early modular or transporting tool. Sorry, the video is not running very well, not as impressive, but transporting tool for your robotic action. When I worked for the Ryder Berry company, we tried to build something like this because every couple of months somebody would come along and say, I can build the perfect robotic harvesting tool. You give them $1 million, 6 months later, they were able to move a vehicle through a field. Well, that's what a tractor does. I wanted to have a platform that I could do things like electrically mow. If you can do this electrically, you can eliminate vibration from motors. You can actually go slow enough, which is a challenge for tractors, for a robotic arm to go and do things. We found other applications carrying things. This is the Carmel Car Show at Quail Lodge, where we're moving tables from one side of the field to the other. And we've got people doing harvesting, weeding, scouting, laying on it just as a utility tool and pulling weeds themselves. But we've got all sorts of activities on it. And because it's so modular, you can pretty much guess that you've got an open source tractor for less than $20,000 that can be operated like a joystick locally or remotely with vision for another $100 with remote vision. And then for a couple $1,000s more, put on the autonomy background. Our team is pretty strong. We're founder of OpenCV, is one of the co-founders of our company. And the rest of them come from Willow Garage, Google X, and a few other companies around the world. So we're local. We're looking for workforce. So if you train them, we'll hire them. Thank you. And we would love to see you guys here locally. We've got Alba is going to take on several of these machines, and we work great in connection with drones and other autonomous vehicles. So I'm sorry the video didn't run exactly like I hoped, but I think we've got it pretty well done. Thank you. Any questions?
Excellent. Well, thank you all very much for a great evening. We appreciate you all being here. Hope to see you next month. Hope to see you at the fly-in on October 2nd and at the the DART Symposium, November 30th and December 1st. And I think thank you to the speakers, great speakers tonight. Save the date. And thank you, of course, to the sponsors who make all this possible. Have a great night. Hang out, talk. This is, after all, a meetup, even if we're not supposed to say meetup. It's a meetup. So make sure you meet everybody. Thank you all very much.